Hello and welcome to another brand new episode of Dingers and Stingers, the podcast that would never encourage anyone to mock anything except, of course, the NFL draft. I'm Dallas, that's Matt, and that's Drew. And on today's show, a little later, we will be revealing our first round mock draft. We're going to talk all things the first round of the NFL draft. We'll talk players, we'll talk teams, we'll talk fits, we'll talk misfits, and what we think might go down in the first round of the draft. But first, look, we got to do a little warm-up. We got to get into the spirit. We got to get into the groove. And I can't think of a better way to warm up than by talking about baseball, right? So we got to give baseball a little love today. So let's get into it. What I wanted to start with today is, look, there's a division right now in baseball that is a little bit confusing. And by confusing, I mean it has a team that went to the World Series in it. It has a team that a lot of people projected to maybe go to the World Series again. It has a team that has a lot of young superstars that a lot of people expected to contend as well this year. And so far, that division looks like nobody wants to win it. That division is the AL East. And so right now, I'd like to talk about what in the world is going on with the AL East. The beginning of the season has been rocky, unpredictable, back and forth for a lot of these teams, but mostly just a little underwhelming. So let's talk about what in the world is going on with the AL East. So Drew, let's start with you. What's going on here? What's in this division? What's the deal?
Yeah, and this conversation could be extrapolated for the entire American League, if we're being honest. Like, no one's that far above 500. No one is that far, besides the White Sox, no one is that far below 500. So it is just a very mid league, and that's kind of what a lot of people projected. But yeah, I think the AL East is the best example of it because a lot of people, their picks for the American League World Series representative came from this division, and that's a lot of, it's multiple different teams that people were picking there. So teams that were supposed to be good, and they're all just kind of mid. No one's that bad, but no one's that good. And, right now in first place, we have the New York Yankees, who have made all the headlines for their special new bats and all that. But really, they're just okay. They played the Tigers in Detroit and lost that series. They hosted the Giants, and we'll talk about the Giants maybe in a little bit. But the Giants, who are surprisingly good, they lost that series as well. And then the Royals come to town and they sweep them. So that's kind of a trend going on with all these teams. No one wants to pick a direction. No one wants to go on a run, positive or negative. Like, I'll talk about, the Red Sox. Obviously, the team I'm most familiar with, they have games like this week. The vibes were at an all-time low for this early in the season, and then they win a couple games, and it's like, oh, okay, maybe we'll be okay. We're 10-10, 500, perfect mid. But we lost a series to the Chicago White Sox. The White Sox have 4 wins total this year. 2 of them came against the Red Sox last week. One of them was an 11-1 thrashing. We salvaged the final game of that series because Garrett Crochet is a true ace. And then we go to Tampa to play the Rays in their little minor league park and lose 16-1. And then win the next 2 games and win the series. So win a series with a minus 10 run differential or something like that. So I will say the vibes in Boston, they're not high, but they're not as low as they could have been 2 days ago. And that's kind of a theme going on. They win a lot on Wednesdays and Thursdays. It makes me feel a little better going into our recordings, but yeah. And the Rays, they've got all kinds of just random guys going out there that I've never heard of that are good. The best hitter in baseball is this. I mean, I've heard of him before, but I don't think he was many people's pick. This guy Miranda, he's behind Aaron Judge, who we all know Aaron Judge. But the Orioles, look stinky bad, but they're still only 2 games under 500. So I think I was saying a lot of nothing there, but yeah, it is confusing.
Yeah, it's genuinely one of those like we expected the central divisions to kind of look like this, not necessarily these divisions where, early on, I remember we were talking like we thought this like division was going to be really competitive in a good way, not in a who can just do anything consistently way. It's like it's really bizarre. And I mean, we're looking at the notes here, and I'm seeing like the Blue Jays are the only division above 500 in the last 10. The Blue Jays, who I thought were like a losing culture and were like going to be one of the worst.
And they're 6-4, so it's like it's not like they're lighting the world on fire.
Yeah, no, they just got above 500.
Yeah.
They just eked it out. So it's really just a confusing spot. Like these are teams that you would argue have more talent than the teams they're playing, and yet they're just not winning consistently. They're not putting strings of games together. So it's weird for sure.
Yeah.
I think that, and again, this kind of goes for the entire American League, but I have more faith in these teams in the American League East. Honestly, there's an argument for any one of them to feel like, okay, we just got to get through this, and then XYZ happens, and we go for a run, and all of a sudden we're running away with the division, or we're at least like solidly in a playoff spot. Because, the Yankees, they're in first place right now. Back and forth, not looking great. Their pitching staff, ERA, Dallas put this in the notes here, 21st ranked by ERA.
Yep.
For their pitching staff.
And that's being like heavily boosted though by Max Fried. I mean, he's been awesome. Everyone else has been absolute booty.
Right. And so I mean, you could kind of look at both sides of this, like, okay, the Yankees are going to be bad. And like, that's kind of what the concern was going into the year, was Garrett Cole got hurt, and who's going to be in their starting rotation, and is it going to be able to compete at a high level? Well, I don't know. Like, I don't have a lot of faith in Marcus Stroman, but like, I don't know if they're really going to be the 21st, like a bottom 10 pitching rotation, especially their bullpen. Like, Devin Williams hasn't been great. I don't know if like the big city is too big for him or anything like that, but I don't expect him to be terrible all year. Blue Jays, like, a lot of people pick them to be last in this division, but the vibe shifted when they got that extension done with Vladdy. I always believed, and I know a lot of people did, that there is a good roster here. It's just, can they fix the vibes? And I think that was enough of a vibe improvement. And their starting pitching has been great. Like, Chris Bassett has been dominant. Gausman has been a bit better of late. But the concern there is that those guys are not, spring chickens. So will that be able to be sustained through the whole season? We'll see. With the Red Sox, the reason to be encouraged is we're still waiting on a couple pitchers to get back, and Brian Bayo is supposed to come back next week. Giolito not terribly far behind him, and Cutter Crawford just started his kind of getting back into things. So if you can, like, Tanner Houck has just been dreadful, which is, it's not good. When he was your number one last year, he was an all-star. He was kind of penciled in to be the number 2 starter. Clearly that's not going to be the case, but if he could just kind of like get back to like average, I don't have a ton of hope for that, honestly, because he has just, the numbers aren't looking good any way you slice them. But if he's bad enough, I mean, he's out of a job. I don't think they stick with him much longer. Crochet has been awesome. Buehler has looked better in his recent starts. And the Red Sox defense has been terrible. They lead the league in errors again, which they've done. They did it last year. I think they've been near the top last couple of years. It was supposed to be a big improvement this year. So again, you can kind of see both sides. Like, should you be discouraged because the defense is still bad, or could you be like, I think this will work itself out. There are good defenders on this team, and like Alex Bregman has 4 errors already.
Yeah,
I don't think that's gonna, like, I don't think Alex Bregman all of a sudden became a bad defender. Like, it just happens. So he just had a kid, by the way. Congrats to him. His second kid. So after his first 5-hit game of his career, so that was cool. And then the Rays are just the Rays, It's kind of an uphill climb. They're playing in that ballpark that they're not used to. The Red Sox just played their series there, so I got to look at it. It's trippy because it's like it's a packed house, but it's only 10,000 or so people that can fit there. Exact same dimensions as Yankee Stadium. The Rays are just the Rays, dude. I don't know, like maybe they'll go get hot. Maybe not. I don't know. I don't have a ton of faith in this year's Rays after getting a look at them. And then the Orioles, like, their guys that they're supposed to rely on have not been good. And the pitching, which was the concern all along, is not good. So what is my encouragement for Orioles fans?
They're young.
Maybe they'll swing a big trade. Maybe the guys will, like, I think Gunnar and Adley will hit again at some point. I don't think this is who they are, but it hasn't been great so far. And even still, they're 8-10, right? So like, all it takes is for one of these teams to get right, and we'll kind of forget this ever happened. But yeah, it's a strange vibe going on right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, no question. Yeah, that's one of the most interesting things about this division, and why I kind of wanted to start the show by talking about it, was because, it's like the word on all these teams is that, strange things are happening to them. The Red Sox are getting whooped in some games and then winning others. The Yankees are, trying to, claw their way through games because their pitching stinks, et cetera, et cetera, all the things we mentioned. But here the Yankees sit at, I believe now 12 wins as of minutes ago. Like you were saying, the Orioles are in last place, but they are only 8-10. So, that's why I thought it was interesting to start with this one, is because even though there's so much to say about, what's happened with them, all of these teams are still not only in their own division race, but also very much in the American League. They're matching pace with a lot of the American League right now, and even some exceeding it. So, we just wanted to open up with a little bit of AL East talk. Lots of things going on in that division over the course of the last week. So, the most newsworthy. But now we'll move to checking on our predictions from last week. And look, I'm going to call it 4 for 4. Because, we did it. So let's go through them. Matt, take us through your predictions and what happened.
Yeah. So, my NL prediction for the week was that 4 out of the 5 NL West teams were going to sit in the top 5. I believe, was it? Yeah, 4 of the top 5 records in the MLB would be from the NL West. And, barring the Yankees just hit their 12th win, the Diamondbacks were tied for being in the top 5, I believe. So we're going to call that a dub this week. I mean, they're right there. A 4th place team right now in the NL West is a division leader in any other single division. So we'll call that a dub. And my AL prediction was that the Angels were going to sadly have to lose their first series. And they did.
Twice.
They sure did twice.
Yeah,
and,
I hit twice on that one, just in case.
Yeah, and I don't know, looking ahead to the weekend, they may not win another one until maybe sometime next week, could be. So, it could be a long road. Drew and I will be at Angel Stadium, tomorrow, Friday the 18th, right?
Yep.
So yes, we'll be there. So maybe next episode we'll have some stories from the ballpark.
Is that the Star Wars night?
I don't know.
I have no idea.
I didn't check.
We're seeing the Giants. We're going for the Giants.
I think you guys might be there for Star Wars night.
It's interesting because it is their first home game in a minute, so maybe it is. That would be, although that might be more of a Saturday thing because they might do the drone show after instead of the fireworks, but we'll see. If it is, we'll have a tale from the ballpark about Star Wars Night. But so yeah, it might be a while before the Angels win another series, but that's okay. We'll always have the first couple weeks of the season to look back on and have fun.
Yeah, no, I just looked it up. Star Wars Night. There is a drone show after the game.
Nice.
It doesn't look. Oh, it looks like it's like a full weekend thing. So tomorrow there is a Star Wars light show with the drones, and then on Saturday is the giveaway. Which is a big A Millennium with the Millennium Falcon on top.
Yeah, dude. I was gonna say when I was at those preseason games against the Dodgers, I saw that and I was like, that low-key looks kind of sick.
Yeah, that would be something like maybe I'll have to look at the aftermarket, for Dallas, because that is a very Dallas thing to have.
Yeah, I always love watching the Star Wars games on the broadcast because no one puns like Mark Gubasa on Star Wars weekends. I'll tell you that. So I'll miss that tomorrow, but maybe Saturday I'll watch the game.
There you go.
Yeah.
Okay, so that was Matt. Yep, 2 for 2 there as far as I'm concerned. Drew, take us through your predictions and what happened there.
Yeah, well, for the National League, it did involve the San Francisco Giants, who we're going to go see tomorrow. I predicted that the Giants would really kind of cement themselves as a good team because they had a tough road trip where they had to go to New York to play the Yankees and then to Philadelphia to play the Phillies. And I believe what I said specifically is like, if they have a winning record through that, then I believe in them and they're a true good team. And they met the minimum requirement. They got 4 wins in 7 games. They won the series against the Yankees. Jung-Hoo Lee had a 2 home run game there at the short porch, and they looked pretty good. And then they go to Philly. They won 2 out of 4 there, so they split the series. And the losses were kind of close, and the wins looked a little bit more decisive. So I feel like leaving that series, even though it was a split, the Giants kind of seemed like the better team. They scored more runs and all that. So I'm feeling good about the Giants. Now they go to Anaheim where, the Angels started off hot. They're not looking so hot now. I wouldn't feel great about the Angels playing the Giants. So, we could see them keep adding to that. And then for the American League, I predicted that we would really kind of know who the Astros were, kind of similar to the Giants, but not exactly to the same extent where, the Astros lost a lot of guys in the offseason. They kind of look like a different team and all that. And I thought they're gonna, after a slow start, they're gonna start winning some ball games here. And so they played a series with the Angels last weekend. They won that series. And then after they played the Angels, I'm trying to look, they played the St. Louis Cardinals, where they lost the first game, won the second game, and lost the third game. Did they play today? I always get confused with the 3 versus 4 game series. So anyway, they went 500. And so I don't know if, when it comes to a prediction of like, I think we're going to know who this team is, you kind of can get it right no matter what. But I think the Astros, I don't know, they're in last place right now. It's similar to the American League East where they're barely in last place, but they are in last place. Losing to the Cardinals, not a good look. Beating the Angels was a good look. So what do we think about the Astros? I think they're just going to be this middling team. I know I picked them as a playoff team going into the season, but so far what we've seen is just kind of a weirdly put together roster. We got Altuve running around in the outfield and all that. I don't know if I like that. And I just don't think they're the team that they've been in the past, and they're going to surprise in some series. Like I still think you don't want to necessarily go to Houston and play the Astros, but at the same time, I don't think the Astros are going to go on a big run this year. So I think that this past week is going to be pretty symbolic of this season as a whole.
Yeah, 100%. All right. So, great job on the predictions last week. And then last thing we wanted to hit before we move on to our NFL portion is a little update on our home run drafts from last week. So if you watched last week's episode, you know that each of these guys has a roster of players and as well as full pitching staffs that we drafted last week. And we're competing in a home run competition. Home runs that players get. Position players are for their teams, and home runs that their pitching staffs allow are against their team. So we've done a little math, and we now know where the competition stands right now. So let's go and see where the competition stands. Drew, take us through that.
Yeah, so I did all the math. Just a little quick reminder: home runs hit count one home run, but pitching staff home runs given up is -3. So the way I did that is I rounded down from the entirety of like all 5 of your pitching staffs, add up all the home runs, divide that by 3, round to the nearest whole number down. So, anyways, Matt is in a commanding lead right now so far. His total is 10 and my total is -3. And as a reminder, also this is retro dated to the whole season, so this is everything to this point as of last night, which was Wednesday, April 16th. And just some highlights, maybe some surprises. Like on Matt's side, he took Tyler Soderstrom after the hot start, when I think he only had 5 home runs last week when we did the draft, which was tied for the league lead. Since then, he has hit 4 in a week. I actually didn't even count today's because I only did from last night, so you can add 1 more there. But on the negative side, Gunnar Henderson still has 0 home runs. So, that's not great. And then the pick of the draft so far, his very last pick was the Cardinals pitching staff. They've only given up 12 home runs this year. That's like in the bottom 5 of baseball. So we'll see, we'll see if that holds. And that's the big difference is Matt's pitching staff has done much, much better than mine so far. I have, the Rays are, I think, the worst or the second worst so far in giving up home runs. I have them. So, I don't have a lot of hope that that'll turn around playing at that park too, but they play a disproportionate amount of home games early in the season.
Correct.
Yes.
Because of
you could have a late season push, some better parks.
Right. Because of the weather situation down there, and they, used to have a dome and all that. But my best pick so far has been Cal Raleigh, who also had a very hot week. He hit a home run in every game of their sweep of the Rangers last weekend, and then he's hit 1 or 2 more since then. He had a 2 home run game, I think. From one from each side of the plate, which is always fun. So, and I'm rostering Ketel Marte, who's still on the injured list. So, hope that's a pick.
We both have middle infielders with no home runs.
Yeah, Vladdy finally hit his first one, so he's on the board on my team. But it's fun. I always enjoy looking up all these things. Matt also, I just need to point out, has had some bad luck. He has Aaron Judge, who has a lot of home runs. He has a couple from the random games when he played DH. Same with Mike Trout. Jonah Heim has 3 home runs total. 1 of them came in a game he played DH. Christian Campbell plays most of his games at second base. He has 2 home runs on games where he started in the outfield. So those don't count for Matt. Hasn't mattered so far. Still up by 13. So that's where we're at.
Perfect. Yeah, well, we'll continue to update as the competition continues and goes on. As I was thinking about it after we did it last week, after we did the draft last week, I was looking the next morning to kind of put some numbers together, and I was like, ooh, someone might need to stay on this. Because I was thinking about the rules about position and like, all that. And I'm like, man, this would be really hard to do like, a couple times a year to update ourselves. So we'll stay on it. So we'll have more frequent updates maybe.
I'm gonna update it at least once a week, not necessarily on the podcast, but I put in the spreadsheet what is the date that it's updated through, so I don't have to, because the way I'm figuring out positions, and there has to be an easier way, and if you are a viewer and you know an easier way, that long shot, but you can let me know. I'm going through the individual game logs for each player to see which position they were playing, and then I have to like look over to see if they hit a home run that day. So for some guys it's easy because they never play anything else, but it's I'm putting in the work, and I do it for you, the viewer.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
The viewer.
All right. Anything else on the MLB before we shake over to the NFL? I don't want to leave some open. Anything else stand out to anybody?
Go Padres, baby.
Padres,
Go Padres, baby.
Padres
somehow.
Although I watched them play, I watched them lose a home game.
In extra innings.
Yeah, but
a red hot Cubs.
But you didn't even get the ghost runner in. So anyway, I was ready for a Tatis moment. They walked in.
I know.
And then
after the game too, as soon as they got Arraez out, you saw Tatis walking off the field, and he was just like, "You guys are smart."
Can't blame him. Okay, so let's go ahead and get to the meat of the episode. The main event, the piece de resistance, if you will, the round one mock draft. I will say Matt created this mock draft. We all co-signed this mock draft, but Matt did the work on creating the first round for us. And so, look, the draft is a week from today. At least round one begins a week from today. And it's in Green Bay, right? Which stinks for all the media people that have to go there. No offense if you live in Green Bay, but this time of year.
We don't have our press credentials yet, so we won't be there.
Yeah.
Not this time.
Yeah, they offered it to us, but we declined because we just figured, why bother? But yeah, so, stinks for them because this time of year, not a great place to be, Green Bay. But, look, that's where they're having it. So, look, let's get into it. What will happen is Matt will give the pick. He'll talk a little bit about why he made that pick, and then we'll just go ahead and talk about the player, talk about the fit, and talk about the team that picked him. We may not go in depth on every pick, because we may not have, super great deep thoughts on every pick, but, we'll make mention at least, of every pick, that we made here. And, so, let's just take it away here. Round one, pick one. Tennessee is on the clock. Who they taking?
Oh, to the great surprise of everybody, I think that they have done a really poor job keeping this one a secret. It's pretty obvious, in my opinion, where they're going to go. Let me preface this by also saying this first round, I was going back and forth. Did I want to do a mock draft that has trades? Because obviously I don't think there's ever been a first round that has 0 trades in it. There will be change come draft day. That's almost a guarantee. But that's not really realistic to predict. So I'm going purely based off of just where's the team picking? What's their need? What can they do to improve their future outlook? And so with that, Tennessee Titans, I do believe, stay boring. They picked the best quarterback in the draft. It's Cameron Ward. And yeah, right off the bat, one of the quarterbacks in this draft comes off the board.
Yeah, I think it's kismet sometimes when a team ends up with the worst record and that team also is has the most glaring need at quarterback, in my opinion, of any team in the NFL right now. Will Levis is not it. Other teams that are quarterback needy have signed veterans and all that. So in my opinion, the Titans need a quarterback more than anyone else right now. And they take one. I think he's the best in this draft, but I also don't think it's the super strong quarterback draft. So that doesn't necessarily mean anything. I just thinking back years where there was a clear 1-1. Sometimes that hits, sometimes it doesn't. Like Joe Burrow was a 1-1. I think the Bengals are happy with that. Then the next year, Trevor Lawrence was a 1-1. Jaguars, jury's still out, I think, over there. So, and sometimes a draft that we perceive to be very strong at the quarterback position as a whole isn't. And you go back to that Trevor Lawrence draft where there was 5 quarterbacks taken in the first round, and he is the only one who has like a guaranteed starting gig.
And might not for super long.
Right. So yeah, I think if you're a Titans fan, try to get excited about him. I have no reason to think he's going to be bad, but I also it just isn't the strongest quarterback class that I've seen. So
yeah, and I mean, I'll say this: I'm not going Cam Ward number 1 because he's the best player in this draft, not by a long shot, right? He's going because the Titans have a need, and while they have other needs on their roster as well, and kind of looking out to the future, it's like at some point they're in a weak division, and you want to take every opportunity you can to make playoffs. I mean, once you get to playoffs, it's anybody's game. And so, for them, they might be thinking this is an open division. At this point, the Texans definitely took a step back last year compared to CJ Stroud's rookie year. So, I mean, this could be a wide open division. Get yourself a quarterback who potentially has franchise quarterback, potential, and see where it takes you. You got some good pieces there. So I think Tennessee I think they'd be happy with this pick. I'd be happy if I were them.
Yeah. It does fill a need. Where does this leave Will Levis? May your quarterback be on the bench?
Probably starting for the New York Giants next year is my best guess.
Okay. Yeah. Well,
over Russ and Jameis Winston, huh?
I think all 3 of them in the same quarterback room is blitz. That's the most for NFL media.
It's the meme. It's the meme.
Man.
Mayonnaise, Stubbs.
Oh man.
Let's ride.
You can make a pretty good meal out of that. You got some crab legs, some mayonnaise. What else do you need? Russ
the Danger Witch.
Yeah, the Danger. Oh my God, new Danger Witch.
You ever done anything dangerous?
New Danger Witch just dropped. Oh my gosh, so good.
It's just mayo.
Yeah, just
I just want to just a quick thought is I'm a substitute teacher, and a shocking amount of kids, like middle school kids, I don't know if this is just like what the Nike store have like the Russell Wilson officially licensed like Nike t-shirts and stuff. They don't even like say his name or anything. It's just like that 3R logo. I see it everywhere, and it's like, all right. I don't know if like Ross carries that now or something like.
If they do, I got to get over there. All right. Okay. So Cam Ward 1-1. Let's talk about the next team on the clock is the Cleveland Browns, and where do we think they go?
Yeah, so I think this already is instantly where we start to see a lot of variation. There's a few players I think could go here. Cleveland also has a lot of needs and a lot of really glaring holes. This is a very poorly constructed team who seems to just bleed talent every year as they don't have that much money to keep re-signing their own. I think that they will inevitably, and maybe this is my hot take of the week, I think that they reach on a player who might not end up being worth it. But they're going to go with the flashiest player in the draft with Travis Hunter. He plays both ways. He's even said, if there's a team that, he literally said, he's like, I would consider retiring if a team doesn't let me try and play both ways. What does Cleveland have to lose? At this point, what does Cleveland have to lose? I mean, it never hurts to have a good corner. Never hurts to have a good playmaker. They need both. So at this point, Travis Hunter, second overall pick, I don't love it, but at the same time, it makes sense to me looking kind of at these next few teams. Like, he just makes sense there.
Yeah, I think I want to like preface kind of the rest of my input here and say I'm much more familiar with what the NFL teams here need more so than the players you're going to be talking about. I'm not a big college football guy. When the Broncos have a high pick, I'm usually a little more invested in the draft. So like, leading up to next week, I will kind of do more homework on this. But now that I said that, the Browns, like, I with Travis Hunter being so intriguing as a potentially playing both ways, like, when's the last time we saw that? Like, didn't Troy Brown kind of do it a little bit, but it was like out of necessity rather than he was good at it. But I would have loved to see him go to a team that has a good quarterback, so we could see his receiving maybe shine a little more. At the same time, like, the Browns just, I feel sorry for Browns fans because they've been the the joke of the league for forever, and then they finally get kind of good. They win a playoff game here and there, and then they just dump Baker Mayfield to get a known criminal in Deshaun Watson. And look, he's terrible, and he got hurt and everything. They don't deserve anything good. I think Travis Hunter going there is a bummer for Travis Hunter. I don't think it's a bad pick in the mock draft. I think it makes sense. I don't love it for the Browns, and I don't love it for Travis Hunter. And, we'll see what ends up happening in terms of how much he plays corner versus how much he plays receiver versus how productive he is when he's doing both. But definitely is going to, like, if that is the pick, that's going to be something I'm looking for in like week 1. It's like, okay, what did Travis Hunter do?
Yeah. Yep. 100%.
Yeah, I saw this funny thing too, where they're saying, not for Cleveland, but right after it's going to be New York, and they're like, Travis Hunter, they may need his DB skills on offense with Jameis playing. It could be a great fit there too. It really could have. I really think that Cleveland takes a shot on someone like that.
If you're the Browns, you got to just keep taking shots at this point. Like, you're 0 for the last however many. Just keep putting them up there. One of them's got to go in at some point. 0 for however long it's been since they drafted Myles Garrett, I guess. That would be the 0 for streak. But yeah, so that's the Browns. Travis Hunter, the Ohtani of the NFL, goes to Cleveland, hopefully to have some fun there. So the Giants are next. What we got?
Yeah, Giants on the clock. Travis Hunter's not available. We know they signed Russ. We know they signed Jameis. So, I actually think they have a really great left tackle. And they're going to draft a guy who I think is actually going to make a better career in the NFL, moving potentially inside to guard or swinging over to right tackle. That's Will Campbell out of LSU. I think he's awesome. I don't think that he's particularly special in any way, but he's great at pretty much everything. And when you're talking about building kind of the foundation of a winning team, not that I think the Giants are really that much of a build the foundation of a winning team type of team, but they need to help that offensive line. Russ is no longer mobile. Jameis needs time if he's not just going to throw 3 flags up balls to everybody. They got to build those trenches. They took a swing on Evan Neal maybe 3 years ago at this point, and he has been one of the worst offensive linemen in the league at right tackle. So I think there's just a glaring hole there. And whatever quarterback they have in the future is going to be really happy that they invested in the offensive line this year.
Yeah, I mean, I think that I love when teams take an offensive lineman so early. I think it's never the flashy pick. It's never the pick that really pumps up a fan base. But I think the smart fans see it for what it is. And I think getting the best offensive lineman, which if you're taking the first one off the board, you're assuming he's the best. That's your evaluation of it. Getting the best offensive lineman in a given draft class, it could be franchise altering.
Yep.
They do need to figure out the quarterback position a little bit. They got a couple veterans like you talked about. So we'll see what happens there. But I think it's never a bad play to get a good offensive lineman.
Take it from a guy whose team does not take offensive linemen in the first round. It is a good thing to take offensive linemen in the first round, because if you do not, you find yourself in a very, very not good situation. So yeah, I think the Giants, hopefully their mindset is what we all think it is. This is, the pick they need to make this year. And then hopefully sometime in the next year, and then maybe the year after that, if they have to wait even longer, they'll find the quarterback that they want. Obviously, I don't think there are any signals that they think anybody in this draft is that guy, at least first round wise. So, they'll ride with whoever they start this year. I wouldn't be surprised if Russ starts half the year and Jameis starts the other half, they go back and forth and don't really decide. But yeah, so hopefully Giants fans will see a pick like this for what it is, which is just setting up. We're setting the table for who's coming. All right, let's move on to the New England Patriots, who are at pick number 4.
Yeah, so this is where I think kind of the Patriot way, we start to see it again. I mean, Mike Vrabel's back in town. He is a Bill Belichick protege. They kind of thought they had that with Gerard Mayo. Didn't seem to work out. Maybe he was just supposed to be the bridge to get us to Vrabel. Maybe that was the plan all along. Who knows? But I've got them taking in my opinion, may be the best player in this draft, and that's Abdul Carter. I mean, it's the Patriots. They want to build on defense first, and they got their quarterback. I actually believe Drake May looks legit. I think that he looks like a guy they can build around, and they have a lot of needs there. But when you're talking about at pick 4 being able to get arguably the best player in the draft, maybe the only true blue chip player, it just feels like it's inevitable that they wouldn't take anybody else. They're more likely to trade down and get a haul than they are to pass on it. So Abdul Carter, pass rusher from Penn State, dude is an animal, and he's only just even beginning to play defensive end. Made the transition last year, I believe, and already looks like one of the best. So I think they start building the trenches on the other side.
Yeah, I think the Patriots would be kind of thrilled if this is the way the draft fell after they won in Week 18 last year to sacrifice they had the number 1 pick. That was their pick, and instead they decided to beat the Bills in a meaningless game. And so if they could still get, by your assessment, the best player in the draft, and they have a lot of needs. I agree with you. I don't think quarterback is a need. I think Drake May looks like someone worth investing in. So when you have so many needs, it's just okay. Best player available. Taking an edge rusher. I mean, that's in modern NFL. That's how you build a defense. You have someone who can get to the quarterback. So I like the pick.
Yeah.
Yep. And in that division, quarterbacks can be gotten to. You might have a young quarterback, coming in. You might have, you have Tua in there who can be gotten to. And if you do, it really affects his game in unfortunate ways, but in ways to be sure. And so, very good, idea for them here. So moving on to pick 5, let's go to Jacksonville for the Jaguars.
Yeah, with Jacksonville, I mean, love it or hate it, this is a trenches draft. It feels like there's not a lot of top end flashy talent, and because of that, we're going to see a lot of teams, I think, building up kind of the core foundations of their team. So I've got Jacksonville taking his name's Mason Graham. He's kind of a defensive lineman out of Michigan, interior defensive lineman. Dude is just good. I mean, straight up, he's good. Run stuffing, pass rushing, all the above. Michigan pumps out linemen, both sides, and I think this guy is just the next in a line of pretty solid picks coming out of Michigan. I think Jacksonville was anemic against the run last year. There was many times where they actually looked pretty good. They obviously have something going on offense with Brian Thomas Jr. They still have Travis Etienne. Love him or hate him. They still got a good guy there. And Liam Cohen being the offensive coach, I think he'll get something cooking on that side. But they're going to need to stop the run and really make teams play them honest and just, if you can build a lead, you want to be able to stop the other team from running and keeping you off the field. So,
yeah, not much to add there except to say, same with the Patriots. Like, when you have so many needs, you just need to pick the guy, especially so early. When you have an early first round pick like that, you just got to take the stud when he's there.
Yeah.
So I like it.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So, I want to talk about this next team, because, this is where my guys are. So let's talk about the Raiders in Las Vegas at pick number 6.
Yeah. The Raiders, I have, taking, in my opinion, the second best offensive lineman. Maybe one of the highest potential. This guy is an athletic freak. He was an absolute just grazer in the run game. One of the highest grades in run game I've seen in a while. Armand Membu, I believe is how you pronounce his name. He's a right tackle from Missouri. Dude is an absolute stud. I think with Pete Carroll being there, there's going to be a hard commitment to the run game. And that's where Geno Smith is at his best. I mean, the play action, when he has a little bit of time, he can dice up a defense. I mean, we've seen it. He's got a good arm. He makes good decisions, but he just needs a little bit of time. And the best way to do that is good offensive lineman, good run game. It's a Pete Carroll masterclass.
Yeah, I don't like the Raiders at all. So them potentially being good makes me nervous. But I got to say, I miss the days where they would just take the guy who had the fastest 40 time.
Take the guy who is Travis Hunter.
Last year the draft worked out for them where, it didn't, but then it did, because they wanted a quarterback, it seemed, and 6 were off the board by the time they picked at 13. So they took Brock Bowers, and he just went out and had the best rookie tight end season we've ever seen. They made the big trade for Geno Smith, obviously Pete as the new head coach. There's a new direction in Vegas for the Raiders. I think taking a really good offensive lineman is a smart play, like I said, with the Giants, because they got the pieces on offense. And, I could see them potentially being in the mix for Gianti. How do you say his name? Gianti? I don't watch
Gianti.
Yeah. I'm fully aware of who he is. I just don't know how to say his name. Because he's just such a freak. But and they don't have the solid running back at the moment. But I think I think this would be a good pick for them too.
Yeah, look, the Raiders, I am most interested, I think, across the league. I think I'm most interested in what in the world it is that they're cooking over there. They've got Pete Carroll for 3, maybe 4 years. They've got Geno for maybe 3 years. And now they're going to start drafting young, good players. They have the draft position to do it. So, what is going on here? Is the plan to win now, or is it not to win a little bit now and a lot later? What is Pete Carroll's tenure going to set the table for? By the time he's done, he'll be almost 80. He's 3 or 4 years is the max on Pete Carroll in Vegas. You have to think. And so what is the plan? So I'm interested to see what they do in this draft, because I want to know what it is, what that tells us about what they're cooking over there. If they take an offensive lineman here, this high on the board, that'll be very interesting to me, because it will signal that they're trying to do something right now. They're trying to make something shake right now. So hopefully they can get it. So let's move on to the Jets. At number 7, the Jets, much maligned, over the last couple of years. And where are they going on at 7?
Yeah. So I struggled a lot with this pick because they're another team that could go a lot of ways. They have a new coach who is a unknown commodity. Aaron Glenn was an awesome defensive coordinator. He was an awesome defensive coach with the Rams. But this is his first time as a head coach. And this is the first time where it didn't feel like there was a clear cut, this is the best player and a need for the team. You know, you could argue, oh, Ashton Genty, they have Brees Hall, they just drafted Braylon Allen last year. That doesn't really make sense. They, in the offseason, however, did lose, I would argue, their most impactful defensive back. Sauce Gardner's good. I think maybe his hype got a little overblown, but they have a DB. It was their, I'm trying to remember his name. It was something, it was DJ Reed, was it?
Yep.
Yeah, the cornerback. And dude was just secretly the best corner on their team the last like 3 years. And he left this offseason, and Aaron Glenn, being a past corner, a previous DB, played for the Jets. I think he goes back there, and I have them taking Will Johnson out of Michigan, the corner. I think when it's all said and done, he's the best, most pure DB in this draft. He's had some injury issues, but if they can kind of get that under control and they trust their medical exams, I mean, Will Johnson is probably like a top 5 to top 7 player in this draft as is. So this would not be a reach in the slightest.
Yeah, I think, if you can get the first player at any position, especially these important ones, it's like, okay, that's good. That should be good. It's the Broncos got Pat Surtain a few years back, first corner off the board, and look at that. I mean, defensive player of the year last year. So I like the Jets doing that. Again, a team with kind of a lot of needs. This would fill one of them, and I really, I'm curious who he ends up with when he demands a trade in 3 years.
Hey, I like Aaron Glenn. I'm not a Jets guy, but I like Aaron Glenn. I hope it's not a disaster for him.
There's always like little reasons to be like, yeah, maybe this Jet, but I think they're just cursed.
I know, I'm falling for it. I think
it's something, there is bad water at their facility or something. It's just not a place where people go to succeed, but I hope maybe changes for Will Johnson.
Yeah, man. We'll see, what Aaron Glenn can do with the defensive pieces that are there. And God bless Justin Fields. He will be, trying his best out there. And look, he might be still serviceable. You never know. Not like he got a chance in Pittsburgh, really, all that much. So we'll see. But okay. So now another team that, very much earned their spot in the top 10, last year. Carolina has pick number 8. And where do they go here?
Yeah. My reasoning for this is Bryce Young kind of showed towards the end of the season. Maybe he's got it a little bit. Maybe he can be that guy. And I mean, he deserves the chance to prove it. And I've always said the best way to support a young quarterback on a rookie deal is you got to give him actual viable weapons, right? Like, he needs playmakers around him. With that being said, I also believe that the Panthers were at their best when they had a prolific tight end in Greg Olsen. And I think they can kind of start to replicate that with who I would say is the best receiving tight end in this draft in Tyler Warren. He is getting some pretty high praise coming into this draft. Originally, it was Colston Loveland was kind of seen as that guy. He may be a better, well-rounded tight end, but Tyler Warren's shot up pretty much consensus boards across all media in that he seems like a real playmaker. He gives effort in the run game and in the blocking, but as a playmaker in the receiving game, like, it's the kind of guy you want to get Bryce Young. Like, just a big body. He can get the ball anywhere. He can take it to the house. I love this pick. This is one of my favorites in the entire first round.
Yeah, I think it's kind of like, it's almost jarring to see Carolina picking 8 after the way their season started last year. Like, they look like the worst of the worst. So to only be the 8th worst is an accomplishment in itself. And you're right, Bryce Young looked a little bit less lost as the season went on. Where they're willing to give him another year and another chance to see if he's the quarterback of the future.
They were going toe to toe with the Chiefs, like down the stretch of the season. They took him to the very end of a game, and it's like, you got to give your guy a chance. I mean, his number one target out there was 60-year-old Adam Thielen. Love Adam Thielen, but that's not going to cut it for a young quarterback. Like,
and that brings me to my next point, which is, I think when that's your situation, weapons is the play. A tight end, a high-end tight end, we saw what that can do with the Raiders last year. It's just as good as getting a really good receiver.
Absolutely.
So, if there's not a wide receiver that they're in love with, that they think is going to be the next number one, and they think Tyler Warren at the tight end position will be that weapon for Bryce Young, I think that's the move. I absolutely think that's where they should invest their resources. So, I like the pick.
Yeah, absolutely. If Bryce Young can just get the ball to him on target, he can take care of the rest. And that is the kind of guy that Bryce Young needs for sure. All right. Next pick is number 9. It belongs to the New Orleans Saints. And so, look, the Saints are in something of a mess right now, with people leaving and, being in cap hell as it is currently. So what do they do in this draft to kind of start the recovery from all that?
Yeah, they bring in a new head coach, Kellen Moore. I like Kellen Moore, but in my opinion, this may be the worst, job to take over in terms of the state of the franchise I've seen in a long time. I mean, pretty much to get under the cap, they're going to need to, in theory, push money back further, creating more problems in the future, or they're going to have to cut 60% of their team. It's probably going to be somewhere in the middle where they just screw themselves and then cut 30%. It's just not good in New Orleans. They're just lacking in talent. The talent they have is old. And so with that, I think you just go for a guy who seems like he can be impactful. I have them taking an edge rusher, Jalen Walker. This is a team that plays in a division that's pretty open. I mean, we were talking about the AL and the AL East and all this earlier. That's the NFC South in football. For the longest time, they didn't have a repeat winner. And then the last couple years, it's been the Bucks with some form of consistency. But this division is wide open, and they have the talent on offense, I think, to at least be competitive. I mean, I still am an Alvin Kamara truther. I believe he can be that guy if they let him. I don't want to be a Derek Carr truther, but a little bit secretly I am. I think that Chris Olave, I mean, if he can stay healthy and stop getting hit in the head, he's proven he can be that guy. So, yeah, I think, take some talent on defense and see where that takes you. Probably won't matter this year, but I think Jalen Walker is going to be a really good defensive end. He can learn from Cam Jordan before Jordan retires and calls it a career.
Yeah, I think you nailed it. There's not much optimism in New Orleans right now. I think Kellen Moore, it's going to be a tough place to win. But like you said, it's not a very strong division. The Saints last year, the first 2 or 3 weeks, looked unstoppable on offense. They
scored 300 points in the first 5 weeks.
So I don't know what that was all about, but yeah, I mean, again, it's a team, just take the best player available according to your evaluations and go from there. And you kind of got bigger. I know it's the draft, it's the most important thing, but kind of got bigger fish to fry. So it's just get your controllable cheap talent and hope that it sticks and try to figure out the roster from there.
Yeah, New Orleans literally is the definition of just get cheap, good players. That's how you can salvage a future there. Because right now, they've got money tied up in just aging old dudes, and it's guaranteed money.
Yeah, tough situation for them for sure, but hopefully when they can start remedying now. All right, so this is the last of the top 10 picks here, and it belongs to the Bears. There's a guy we haven't mentioned yet who people might think might go in the top 10. So maybe let's hear the Bears pick and see what we got here.
Yeah, I think this is the pick I think a lot of people have been waiting for. If you're looking up mock drafts on YouTube or something, you're probably looking for this guy and you're a little bit shocked his name hasn't been called yet. I just think that this is one of those things. Ben Johnson seems like a greedy mother. He wants playmakers, man, and he wants an abundance of them, an embarrassment of them. It's Ashton Jeanty to the Bears. I mean, they have other things they need more than a running back, but dude, I mean, you put Ashton Jeanty on that team they've had an overhaul of their offensive line already. Going out and getting Joe Thuney, making a couple other moves and bringing in a really solid interior for their offensive line. I mean, Ben Johnson's kind of making a monster over there in Chicago, and you add Ashton Jeanty to that, and we could be looking at, potential top 5, top 10 offense in the league. Like, realistically, the talent is there. They just need to do it. So it's a fun pick. I can't lie. It's a real fun pick.
I love the pick. I really like the direction the Bears are heading. I think Ben Johnson has potential to be a great head coach. Obviously, had a lot of success as an offensive coordinator. Caleb Williams had a decent rookie year, decent enough to make you think there's more there. Definitely. I mean, he's a pick 1-1, so you would hope. But yeah, I mean, that would just be an offense to watch. They made a big, additions already with, they traded for that guy from the Chiefs. Yes. Offensive lineman.
Yeah. Joe Thuney.
Joe Thuney. Thank you. And they already have DJ Moore, Roma Dunze on the receiving end. I think giving them a clear, it's kind of gone out of fashion to draft a running back super high or to pay a running back a lot of money or whatever. But we saw with the Eagles, paying a running back sometimes works if the running back is really, 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 really good. And I think we all saw last year, Ashton Jeanty it's an excellent running back. I think any team would kind of be excited if their team drafted him. So I think if the Bears do, that instantly makes them a top 5 offense to watch. I don't know, statistically, we'll see what happens, but certainly a team you want to tune in for.
Yeah, and I mean, I'll throw this out with the context. I also am a guy who believes running backs are more valuable than the league has made them. Pretty much 31 teams would be better off with him on their team. I think, Saquon is that dude still. Aside from that, every team would see this as an upgrade. So, I mean, the Bears are getting a good one.
Yeah. And I think you're right about Ben Johnson being greedy. He strikes me that way. Or he just doesn't care, about how it looks. He doesn't care about how it may seem. He just wants the best team, and he's going to try to get it. And yeah, so if Ashton Jeanty is here, he is going to take him for sure. And so, yeah, for sure. So, all right, look, we're here at the back part of the first half of the draft. So I think right now is a great time for our first speed run. So we're going to speed run through picks 11 to 15. Matt can give us the pick and a little bit of a reason why. And if we have any thoughts, we can chime in. But from there, we'll just move on to the next one. So 11 through 15, let's start now. The Niners are on the clock here. So who do they take?
Yeah, so I've got San Francisco taking a right tackle, Kelvin Banks from Texas. Maybe eventually could play left tackle, but Trent Williams is an old man. The rest of their offensive line sucks. They're also in cap hell a little bit. The Niners, in the same way, have been really bad in the first round and just drafting in general, kind of. They need a hit on some first rounders, and oftentimes I think building in the trenches for a team that runs 40 times a game is an easy way to make your first round picks a little more valuable, just inherently. So that's pick 11 in San Francisco. Pick 12 going to Dallas. CeeDee Lamb has been kind of the lone star there on offense for a minute. I have them going with an offensive weapon. Tet McMillan out of Arizona, the receiver, just a big body, stretch the field kind of guy. Let CeeDee Lamb do all the special stuff he does in the intermediate game and give Dak just another option down the field. I mean, he makes circus catches look routine. I think he could be awesome. He's faster than he looks. Yeah, I think it'd be a great pick for them. Moving on to Miami. This might be a surprise to some people. Some people might not actually recognize this name. Coming into this season, though, this would have been considered the top corner in the draft, not Will Johnson. This guy is huge. He's 6'3", like 220, something like that. I mean, just a big corner, an absolute shutdown corner. Siobhan Revel. The rumors right now are that Jalen Ramsey's on the trade block. I think that's pretty much all but certain. It seems like they've agreed to part ways. They're going to need to replace him in a division that's going to be passing the ball a lot. You got to defend Josh Allen. They have good pass rushers. Take the guy who might be the best DB in the draft but got hurt and see if he can turn into something. I think that'd be the move for them. Pick 14, we got Indianapolis. I have them drafting Gray Zabel. He is the true jack of all trades offensive lineman in this draft. They have him listed as a guard because I think they don't know how to list him. He played all 5 offensive line positions in college. At the Senior Bowl, he played all 5 positions on the offensive line, and he's really good at all of them. He's big, he's nasty, just one of those classic North Dakota offensive linemen. We've seen quite a few of them over the last few years, and he's just the next in a great line. And then pick 15, I've got Atlanta going with the D lineman from Georgia, Michael Williams. They have him listed at D line. This is another guy who's multi-positional. He can play inside, outside. He was a stand-up linebacker at Georgia. He was in coverage at Georgia. I mean, this is just a stick him where you need some help. And Atlanta might need some help on defense.
Yeah. I would think so. I just remember that Seahawks Falcons game from last year. A Seahawks offense that really at that time didn't really have any business, making things happen, was really making it work against the Atlanta defense, especially the defensive line. So yeah, I think that's a good, a much needed, pick for them there, for sure. So, okay, let's spend some time here at pick number 16.
One note on, real quick on, Tet McMillan to the Cowboys.
Yeah.
I think it'd be a great pick for them. I hope it doesn't happen because the Cowboys have such a cool tradition. It's like one of the cooler traditions in football where when they pick a receiver really high, they wear 88. It's like, it was Michael Irvin's number back in the day, and then Des Bryant wore it. He was a first-round pick. CeeDee Lamb wears it now, first-round pick. But like I said, CeeDee Lamb wears it. So Tet McMillan would just have to end that tradition, I guess. I'd kind of like them to wait for CD to be elsewhere, and then they can pick another really high receiver. But that's my take on the situation.
I love Tet McMillan. I would love to see him not on the Cowboys. It just makes so much sense.
I think now that you said that, I think you, Drew, might be the most in Jerry Jones's head of all of us, because we're asking them to make the smart decision, and you're thinking like Jerry. You're like, well, I don't know.
Let's think about the brand.
We got to keep the 88 thing going. I can see him in that draft room with his arms crossed, saying that kind of thing.
Honestly, it's probably crossed his mind.
Yeah, 100%. So let's spend some time here on this pick though. Arizona has pick number 16, and who do we have them taking there?
Yeah, so this is going to be, I think, maybe the shocking pick for the draft that I had. I have Arizona picking Shedeur Sanders.
Let's get the thumbnail real quick.
I have Arizona picking Shedeur. Being in the division, we've heard, all the all the talk of Kyler Murray the past few years, the Call of Duty gaming addiction, the he can't get it done in the clutch, talk, and there's just so much negative media or like around Kyler Murray, and it's not totally unwarranted. I mean, the few times we've seen him lead them to the playoffs, he's fully collapsed under the lights, and he hasn't been able to get it done in prime time. I like Kyler Murray. I actually do. I just don't know if this team has a future where they have to keep paying him as a top mobile dual threat quarterback and still be able to build around him. I mean, they've got Marvin Harrison Jr. They've brought in some really good young talent. Trey McBride looks like an absolute superstar. And I don't know. I mean, it's the whole thing of like, do you take the risk on something unproven to maybe become something more, or do you try and make it work with the same stuff that hasn't for a while? I mean, a lot of teams would take Kyler Murray in a heartbeat and would be a better team for it. And in the same breath, they've had him for quite a number of years now and haven't been able to get past like the wild card round with him. Yeah, I think maybe it could be time in Arizona to shake it up, and who better to shake it up with than like maybe the greatest wild card of this round in Shedeur Sanders. Is he good? Is he hype? Is he just Deion Sanders' son? I genuinely don't know. The tape genuinely confuses me on him. So
I like the pick because of the boldness of it. I think Kyler Murray is the perfect kind of, like, I think the Cardinals, you're right, they haven't done enough with him. Like he has not led them where they want to go. But at the same time, I think you get rid of him, and I think wherever he ends up, he's going to instantly be good. I think he's a great change of scenery type of guy. But at the same time, I think like Cardinals they'd be hard pressed to like move on from him, because it's like, is there better available? Taking a first round quarterback is kind of the route they would have to go. It would obviously, I think, upset Kyler. If they went this route. I personally am not sold on Shedeur Sanders. I don't think he's necessarily that guy. But Kyler Murray hasn't totally been that guy either. He's shown flashes, but in terms of overall success, I mean, they've come in last place. How many? I know the Niners were worse than them last year, but they just have been an average to below average team for much of his tenure. Despite some flashy plays here and there, but I don't know, because trying to think of like trying to project where Sanders will get drafted to. There's obviously teams with very set quarterback positions that they're not going to touch him, but then there's a good number of teams where it's like, yeah, they have a quarterback, but like, do they have a quarterback? So I'm very interested to see where he ends up. I would be surprised if draft day comes and it is the Cardinals, but I do like the reasoning behind that pick, and it would be very interesting to see the fallout from that.
Yeah, and I mean, they're drafting at 16. They are the furthest away from first or last. And our friend group and our fantasy league, we've had this debate actually on a couple occasions, but it's the difference of like, as a fan of a team, would you rather be decent/good forever, or would you rather take the risk to be great and potentially win at the risk of being bad in those in-between years? As a Rams fan who's been bad and has also been great, I would take the risk every time if it means we're winning a championship, right? Like if it means that we're going to be a championship caliber team, I'll take the down years. I'll take the risks. I'll suffer the heartbreak of losing great players and homegrown players. But like, Kyler Murray's been here for a long time. People still think of him as this like young quarterback, and he is young. But like, he's been in the league a long time. He's multiple years into a second contract, and they've never gotten past the wild card round. And both times they've been to the wild card round, they've been absolutely blasted, like just embarrassed. And I don't know. I would also be shocked if it was the Cardinals that ended up pulling the trigger on the second quarterback of this draft. And at the same time, I think that it would be exactly the type of move that would make them potentially better. I mean, I'm not sold on Shedeur either, but you got to take risks, you know? You got to shoot.
Yeah, I think I see the logic behind moving on from Kyler and trying something new. I just don't know. I'm not sold that Shedeur is the guy to do that on.
Totally.
We'll see what happens.
Yeah, I think definitely never a bad idea if you can afford it, you know, and the Cardinals picking in a position like this, they already have a receiver, they have defensive pieces, you know, they can afford to take a risk here. If you can afford it, never a bad idea to bring in some legitimate competition for your quarterback just to see, you know, if it makes him better. If the other guy is better than him, that's good too. But if it makes Kyler Murray better in the competition part of it, then that works out for you as well. And then if you can figure out what to do with Shedeur after that. But, so let's move on now to pick number 17. And the Bengals have that pick. So where are we going?
Yeah, the Bengals just need defense, man. I mean, they're losing both of their edge rushers. They don't invest in their defense because they have to pay all of their money to the 3 offensive players they will have for the next, 7 years. And I guess good for them. If they think that they can make this work, do it, man. And so I've got them drafting another edge rusher, Mike Green out of Marshall. He was really good at the Senior Bowl, was really good, really impactful. It seems like the type of guy who, like Trey Hendrickson, can make a name for himself at first as just a pure pass rush specialist and maybe develop into something more. But I mean, the dude can get after the quarterback. And at this point, that's what you want. That's what everyone around the league wants. They already locked up their quarterback. They're locking up their receivers, but you got to be able to rush the passer. They can't be winning every game 40-40. Like, it's just not going to work.
Yeah, their defense was a real mess last year, top to bottom. And it's the reason why, Joe Burrow, as good as he was last year, was not able to lead this team to the playoff, or, anywhere to do any damage because, that defense was a mess. So I think starting with the defense, starting to build it up from the ground, I mean, they're going to have to, because they've, like you said, they've elected to invest in the other side of the ball. So draft capital shall be invested in the defense. And that's certainly a way to do it. And, we'll see how it works out for them if that is indeed the pick. Okay. So let's go to the next pick. Pick 18 is owned by the Seattle Seahawks. So let's talk Seahawks first.
That's the team from your sweatshirt.
Yes, that's true.
Is it really?
Here they are. So yeah, let's talk about who goes at pick number 18.
Yeah, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, Dallas. This may be my most out of touch pick in the first round. You mentioned it earlier. Seahawks never draft offensive linemen, especially interior offensive linemen. Well, I've got them drafting an interior offensive lineman, the first true guard off the books, Tyler Booker from Alabama. I mean, the Seahawks offensive line, laughably has been so bad for so long. And I used to think it was actually just they played in a division with good defensive linemen. And it turns out not really. They were good, and the Seahawks were also bad. It was truly a both and. And I think it's just about time that they improve that because my sweet, sweet Sam is playing there, and he needs protection. And protect him, Dallas. Protect him.
Dallas. It's on you, Dallas.
Dallas. With the 18th pick, Dallas to guard.
Look, they need to invite me out there to announce the pick, and then I'll just announce whoever I want it to be, and then see what they do. What are they going to do?
Can they take it back? I mean,
when I say whatever offensive lineman I say, you watch how the fans react, and then you take it back. I dare you. So yeah, look, Seattle. This would be a pick I'd be excited about if it happened for sure, because it is the position of greatest need. There is a conversation going on in Seattle right now among the fan base and among, shows that I listen to and people that I read about, the philosophy of drafting for need in the first round versus drafting just the best player there is on the board. And John Schneider has always pretty much opted for the best player on the board rather than for need. Sometimes those two have been the same, which is, what you want. But a lot of the time it hasn't. And so, that is likely what I anticipate to continue here. But if they are going guard, that would be great. And I'd be definitely for that. Because that's a unit that needs help. I'm glad that we're at least past the days of converting defensive linemen to offensive linemen. That was a time, that was a period that something real that happened was they would draft defensive linemen and then they would convert them. And so I'm glad we're past that at least. And we have guys who know how to play offensive line, playing offensive line. Now we just need to get the good ones in there, or at least just a couple, good ones in there. So yeah, if this is the pick, I'd be thrilled, because I'm a big believer in, starting there. But like I said, in another episode, Seattle has created problems for themselves that they didn't have at the beginning of the offseason through trades this offseason. So, they could go receiver here. They could go linebacker here if they wanted, things like that. There aren't really many linebackers that people think maybe, should be up here at that point this year. But, we'll see what happens there. But if that's the pick for Seattle, I like it.
Yeah, I mean, and I'll segue into the next one because at this point it feels like maybe I'm just a counterpoint to Dallas's thoughts. I have a linebacker going.
That's right.
Tampa Bay picking 19, taking the first linebacker off the board, Jahad Campbell out of Alabama as well. I think that Tampa Bay famously has had some awesome middle linebackers. They've had Levante David for like a year and a half of good Devin White. I would love to see them have another great middle linebacker. I mean, this dude looks the part. He's Alabama, so he's got that kind of pedigree to him as a linebacker. It feels like Alabama just loves linebackers. And I think this would be a very fitting pick for them. And as Levante David just continues to be an ageless wonder, this allows him to not be.
Whole security there.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Linebacker goes. Hey, still in the, even in the post Nick Saban era, feels like you can't really go wrong with a defender from Alabama, right? Until proven otherwise. So not a bad choice there. All right. We're going to spend a little time at pick number 20 before we, take our next speed run because number 20 belongs to the Broncos. So let's hear about Denver.
Yeah. So I have them taking one of my favorite defensive players in this draft. I think his value at the position is what makes him drop this far. But I mean, this guy is a freak. Like if you watch his tape, he's everywhere. Malachi Starks, the safety from Georgia, he's elite pretty much everywhere. Like sometimes people don't really value the safety position, but I feel like the Broncos are a team that actually do. And pretty recently have had awesome safeties. And I think this would just be another, piece of an awesome defensive back group. And when you're talking about playing in that AFC West, like you need to have DBs who can fly around and contain a team. And this guy can do that. I mean, he'll play in the box. He can be the deep safety. It don't matter. He's big enough and fast enough to do either. So I think this would be an awesome pick. They've already got, when they have, was it Riley Moss? When they've got Moss and Surtain both playing, you throw a DB like this into the mix and you're talking about just an outstanding group.
Yeah, I would love this pick. Like I said about other players earlier, like when you can take the first guy at his position, that's great. Especially like, you're picking 20th and you get the first safety. I really like it. We talked about this in one of our very early episodes, but like the Broncos have had a good offseason where coming off of a really good season where there's not like the glaring hole on this roster where it's like, okay, you have to target this position in the draft. I wouldn't mind like a weapon for Bo Nix, but on defense, I would really be happy with this pick because you signed Hufanga from the 49ers.
Mm-hmm.
He's a safety. He's had injury concerns in the past, so this would, at worst be insurance, but at best, I mean, you have just one of the best secondaries in all of football, if not the best. Pat Surtain won Defensive Player of the Year. We saw what it takes to beat Patrick Mahomes, and that is pressure him and then have his guys covered.
Yeah.
And so I think the pressure can come. Nick Bonito and Jonathan Cooper are excellent pass rushers there. And then that secondary, really good. And then Malachi Starks, I can't say I'm like super familiar with him specifically, but he's played University of Georgia, played in big games, played in the SEC. Yeah. I love taking SEC defenders. It's worked out well in the past. So I would be really happy with this pick.
Yeah.
Absolutely. All right, let's start our next speed run. We're going to speed run picks 21 through 25. And that starts with Pittsburgh.
Yeah, so Pittsburgh was another one that really confused me. I really just don't like their team and their roster and what they have built here. They have some players who I think are fun and are cool, but like overall, it feels like a really unbalanced team that doesn't really have a direction. And, we've talked about it a little bit in this early on episodes, but it feels like Mike Tomlin kind of builds this team that's inevitable to just be good and not great. But if he was going to be great, it was always through defense. And so with that, they're getting older on that defensive front. They've had some injuries as of late. I have them picking a guy who can kind of fill any of the actual defensive lineman positions, not like the edge rusher or outside linebacker spots, but any of those interior 7 gaps. I have him taking Shamar Stewart out of Texas A&M. He's kind of not a project guy. I mean, I don't think you can call any first round pick a project player, but he's a guy who definitely has not seen his potential. And with the right coaching, which I do think Tomlin's a good coach, I could see him turning into a really good player there. So yeah, I've got him going at 21. 22 was kind of, I feel like a cheesy pick for me. I have the Chargers taking Colston Loveland. It just is too easy. Tight ends typically don't go high. This feels like a good range for a tight end to go. He's a Michigan guy going back to play for Jim Harbaugh, gives Justin Herbert another weapon, which he desperately needs, but he's also a great blocker for the run game. This is just, it feels almost too perfect, like it could never happen. But if anyone was to make it happen, it feels like it might be Jim Harbaugh. So that's who I got the Chargers taking. Pick 23, one of my favorite players in the draft, Jahdae Barron from Texas. Maybe the best ball hawk, true, just play the ball in the air DBs in the draft. There's a lot of signs pointing to the Packers losing Jaire Alexander, who has been kind of their best DB for the last few years. Jahdae Barron could step in and be a great player for them, I truly believe. 24, we got Minnesota, and I have them taking Nick Emenwari. My apologies if I'm mispronouncing anything. Reading is hard. Nick Emenwari.
It's actually Minnesota is how you say it, but you got the name right. But it's the state.
Damn. My apologies, Minnesota. But yeah, this guy's huge. I think that he would be the perfect complement to Harrison Smith as he kind of ages. This guy's 6'3", just an absolute beast of a safety, speed everywhere. He's a little rough around the edges, but the physical tools are all there, and I think Harrison Smith is criminally underrated. I think he'd be the perfect mentor for a player like this to keep on a team that's going to need to have some defense to play around a young, kind of unproven quarterback. And then at 25, one of the easier picks for me is Josh Connerly, offensive tackle out of Oregon, going to Houston. Houston has pretty much said they didn't want any offensive lineman who was associated with their team last year. So they got to start somewhere. That would be a left tackle for their franchise quarterback. They might draft only offensive linemen in this draft. Like, Houston has not a ton of needs, and all 5 offensive lineman spots are needs. So I like Josh Connerly. He fits the scheme there. I like the player. I think he'd be a great fit in Houston.
All right. Anything on any of those picks from anybody else? I guess for me, I like Colson Loveland to the Chargers because I like the Chargers kind of. I like what they're doing over there. I want them to have some success. They're obviously in the worst division to be in, but I would like to see Justin Herbert have some success. And then, yeah, I'm with you on the Houston pick. Because I also like CJ Stroud and, I like the players on that defense too. And so I want to see those guys have some success. DeMeco Ryans has also proven himself to be a good head coach. And so it's time for them to start, take a step back to where they were 2 years ago after taking a step back last year, and then continue to build from there.
Yeah. My one thought from those 5 is that, when I said that the Titans had the biggest need at quarterback, I might have forgotten about the Steelers, who I don't even know. Like, Mason Rudolph going to be taking snaps for them if the season started today. So,
yeah,
that's not to say they should reach and take a quarterback in this draft, but what's going on there?
Yeah, not good. It doesn't seem like anyone really wants to play quarterback there either. Hopefully, for the Steelers case, they get somebody because they gave away both their other ones. So, we'll see how that ends up for them. They've got DK over there now, so, he can enjoy, getting thrown, balls by Mason Rudolph. That's fine with me. All right. So, let's go over to, the Rams, who have pick number 26, and we'll spend some time here talking about our pick for, the Rams here.
Yeah. So the direction I took here, and my thought process behind it all is I think the Rams and pretty much everyone in building kind of understands we're taking advantage of the last years of a closing window. I love Matthew Stafford. I still think at the end of the game, there's not a lot of quarterbacks I would take in the fourth quarter over him. But I mean, he's looking old. He's definitely showing signs of aging. And I think if we're going to get to the Super Bowl and win one, we got to do it in the next year or two. And I mean, we just lost his best friend. Cooper Kupp goes to Seattle. We need a replacement. Our offense was statistically worse than we've been in a long time. I mean, we were decent, but we didn't put up a lot of points. At the end of the day, it was just a lot of long drives that ended in field goals. And I think that changes. I mean, we get our first true flashy player maybe since Todd Gurley. I love Cooper Kupp. I love Puka. I love Kyron. We've got a lot of guys who I would consider really grinded out type guys. I think that the Rams take Matthew Golden out of Texas. Just special speed on the field. We got burned so many times last year by guys who just have that next gear. And the Rams have been missing a home run hitter for years, again, since Todd Gurley. And so I think going with another weapon, making sure Stafford has as many as he needs for this last push. Our defense is young and cheap and under control for years to come. So I'm let's invest in the offense and let's just go all in on trying to get some playmakers.
A broadcaster's dream is quarterback and wide receiver have the same first name. So, broadcasters are going to love that, if that's how it goes down. We love to hear Matthew to Matthew. One thing I'll say, I hope that kind of Stafford can play until Clayton Kershaw also can't play anymore because they should retire the same year. They didn't start their careers the same year, I don't think, did they? In the NFL and the MLB? No.
Kershaw
right?
was in the
Way before.
major leagues before Stafford was drafted. But
And so, like, they, they're friends and they went to the same school or whatever.
Mhm.
So, like, it would be great for them to go out together. Both of them being so close to that time. So that's what I want.
That
But
would be fun.
yes, so hopefully a couple more years left for Stafford there.
I also think that like the way your mock draft, well, I'll say our mock draft is going, like, I mean, not a ton of like offensive skill guys being taken in the first round so far. So like, whereas sometimes at pick 26 you're getting like the sixth receiver or something like that, to get, what is this, the second receiver in your draft, like
Yeah.
the fourth pass catcher overall. Like, I mean, you got to feel good about that.
Yeah. And I would say, I mean, I think that shows a little bit just in this draft as a whole. And what people see is it feels like the defensive players are the known commodities. And a lot of these offensive guys were like new on the scene this year. And, a lot can be said about 1 year of great tape. And at the same time, when you've got guys, both on defense and on offensive line, who are 4-year starters at the highest level and have been dominant, those guys seem to make their way into the first round, and that can push down some of the more flash in the pan type of players. So yeah, we'll see if this is how it shakes out. But there's going to be receivers available at this part of the draft. I can almost guarantee it. It's just figuring out who. There's kind of a group of like 4 or 5 of them where it's like, take your pick of who you like.
And it's playing the risk game, but at the same time, it's like, I trust certain teams more than other certain teams. And Sean McVay and the Rams are a team I trust to get the most out of a wide receiver.
Yeah, and I mean, let's be clear. This is also, if every team was drafting smart. The Raiders might draft Matthew Golden 6 because he's fast.
You never know. And that's
you just don't know.
That's the great thing about the draft is you just never know.
Yeah, I was stunned when Michael Penix got taken by the Falcons last year. So there's
every
always
year there's players that are just like, what was that? Like what? No, like what? It's inevitable.
Look, that's a good point. We talk about Pittsburgh, Kirk Cousins, maybe. Could be an option for him. Pittsburgh might like that. All right. So here we are at the back half of the second half of the draft.
Dude,
so
I just understood that joke. That was, guys, appreciate that joke. Like in the comments, appreciate that joke. That's cool. That's quick.
Pittsburgh might like that. All right. So we're in the back half of the second half of the draft here. So let's speed run our way through the end. These are the good teams. The teams we know, and barring some sort of catastrophe, will be good again this year. So let's see how rich are the rich getting.
Yeah, so this is kind of the start of, I think, a little mini run on receivers. I've got the Baltimore Ravens taking Emeka Egbuka out of Ohio State, another great receiver out of Ohio State. He's kind of just like the perfect, he could catch 110 balls, just a first down machine. They got Zay Flowers, who's kind of their shifty playmaker, can kind of make plays in a different way. But I think they just need someone who can be a security blanket. There's rumors that Mark Andrews also might be on the move this offseason or potentially towards the trade deadline. So, he's kind of been Lamar's safety blanket the past few seasons, and I think they could look to the future of replacing that, especially with how the season ended for Mark Andrews. I mean, if you look at the season totals, it was redeemable, but anyone who watched the Ravens play this year knows that was a disappointing year for Mark Andrews. So yeah, I've got them taking a receiver. Detroit, they have been trying to find an edge rusher to play across from Aiden Hutchinson. Last year, they needed an edge rusher just to play on their team. I believe that they go out and take a guy who could go much higher than this in James Pierce Jr., edge from Tennessee. I think he's going to be really good. I have no doubt in my mind that he would fit in Detroit. He's got some character issues, and Detroit is an angry team. So I think that this could be a perfect match, and I think that Detroit could be a great place for him. Next, I got another receiver coming off the board to Washington. I think Jaden Daniels was amazing. One of my favorite players to watch in recent years. Kind of seems like he may be the key to finally unlocking the dominant Terry McLaurin. But behind Terry McLaurin, we were getting, legacy games from like Olamide Zacchaeus or whatever that guy's name is. Like, we had dudes winning fantasy championships that hadn't been relevant ever. And I don't think that'll be the case this year. I think that they're going to invest. They're not going to let him go into the season with his second best target being 40-year-old Zach Ertz. I have them taking Luther Burden, one of the shiftiest, best yards after the catch receivers in this draft. Just an absolute playmaker. They brought in Curtis Samuel, I believe, last year. I could be wrong. Curtis Samuel might have been somewhere else. They had someone, but they just need to put playmakers around them. Oh, dude, they traded for Debo, didn't they?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they traded for Debo. So, I mean, you're talking about one of the best kind of like receiver rooms out there when it comes to just being able to put them anywhere and have them do anything. Luther can absolutely also take the ball out of the backfield. He can take jet sweeps, screens, all of the above. I think this would make them maybe one of the top 3 or 4 most like electric offenses in the league. Because I think Burden's going to be a certified playmaker. And I think he'd be a really good fit there. Moving to 30, we got Buffalo. I have them taking a defensive lineman. They have had some big swings and misses with some free agent defensive linemen in the past few years. And I think it's finally time for them to just kind of draft and develop one of their own again. I have them taking Derek Harmon out of Oregon. The dude is massive, and I think would be an awesome compliment to Ed Oliver there. You can never have enough good defensive linemen. Philly kind of showed us that. When you can just have a abundance of them to rotate in and out of games, especially when you get to those outdoor games in Buffalo, kind of end of the season, it helps to have just a good front seven. So yeah, I think Buffalo taking the defensive lineman fits. Kansas City. This makes me sad a little bit. I think Josh Simmons could be the steal of the first round. If he didn't have the injuries that he did this past season, he might have been the top offensive tackle in this draft. He could have been a top 5 pick even. But there are medical concerns. That being said, I think Kansas City finds themselves in a spot where they just traded their best offensive lineman, who was a left guard who just played left tackle last year because why not? It's the Chiefs. And so I don't think that they feel like they're in a spot where the injury risk is as concerning to them because they made it to the Super Bowl with a guy who should have never been playing left tackle anyways. And so they can kind of take a risk on a guy like this who, if it turns out to work out, you could be talking about an absolute steal and another gem from the Chiefs. So I have them taking Josh Simmons, the offensive tackle from Ohio State. And then to round out this draft, the Philadelphia Eagles. You can never have enough defensive linemen, right? Right. They take the edge. Nick Skirton from Texas A&M. He is just like, he's a model of consistency. He just looks the part when you watch him play. Brandon Graham's retiring. They've had a couple edge rushers leave over the past couple of years, and I think this is just another opportunity for them to stack one of the most stacked rooms in the league. And it showed last year they could pretty much destroy any team's game plan by just saying, here's 4 incredible pass rushers. Stop them. So that's how I see this first round going. No trades. And if everyone was as smart as I am.
Yeah, right on. So there it is, round 1 of the draft, which takes place again a week from today, on next Thursday. So from here, we'll see how the draft goes, but that's our take. And so let's round out today's episode with the last segment of the show, as we always do, dingers and stingers. Let's talk about one good thing and one bad thing from the week for each of you, sports related, of course. So let's talk stingers first, and let's start with Drew.
Yeah, my stinger, the Red Sox went through some rough times this week, and really the thing that's the most concerning long term to me is just how terrible Tanner Houck has been. So that's my stinger. It's just the Tanner Houck situation, because I don't really see a short leash for him. Like, he's built into this rotation. They're counting on him. He's gonna get his chances, but so far it's just been ugly, and I don't really see it getting better unless his stuff or his command drastically improves, which doesn't usually just happen out of nowhere. I'm concerned about him. Before last year, we didn't even know for sure that he was going to be a starting pitcher in the major leagues. He had a breakout year. Good for him. He needs to find it again. I don't have a ton of faith right now, but I'm hoping for it.
All right. Matt, give us your stinger.
Yeah, my stinger of the week is it appears the NL West may be the only division in baseball. I saw a tweet about San Diego where it was like, they're off to maybe the best start in franchise history. They are 11-1 at home, I believe 15-4 on the season, and the year they finally can, like, it seems like they're just dominant, is also the year that the rest of the NL West is second, third, and fourth in the MLB. Like, we can't just have an easy one, and it's fun, and it's going to make for fun baseball, and it sucks because if you've been a Padres fan for even a few years, you understand it's a sad, sad, sad place full of hope that ends with sad. So maybe this is the year that all changes. But I just wish that we didn't have to beat the 4 best teams in baseball to win our own division.
Yeah. All right. So let's end with the good and talk about the dingers for the week. Drew, give us yours.
Yeah, last week I went outside of the world of baseball and football and chose a hockey moment. I'm gonna do something similar this week. I'm not doing baseball. I'm not doing football. I'm not doing hockey either. I'm gonna go with Rory McIlroy winning the Masters tournament. I'm like sort of into golf. Like, I don't watch every tournament, but I keep up enough. And Rory has always been one of my favorites, and he really cemented that in recent years with all the live golf stuff and him being on the outside of that. I really respect that. He seems like a good dude. He had 3 out of 4 legs of the Grand Slam a long time ago, I think 11 years ago, and just could not win the Masters and had some close calls, couldn't get it done. Almost blew it this time again, but was able to win with some clutch shots, especially in the playoff hole. And it was just a really cool moment. Like, you could just see the relief on his face, and I think a lot of people around golf were really pulling for him, and so was I, and it was just cool to see.
Yeah, that was a cool moment.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, let's end with Matt's dinger right here.
My dinger is one filled with hatred. I have the fact that A-Rod came out and said, A-Rod being Aaron Rodgers, that he would rather retire than join a non-Super Bowl team. This comes after, toodles, toodaloo, Aaron Rodgers. Truly, I couldn't be happier that he has basically just told himself that he doesn't want to play football anymore. Because any team that takes him to be their quarterback isn't a Super Bowl team. Like,
Super Bowl teams have their quarterback situated,
Exactly. You're not a week out from the draft wondering, we want to win the Super Bowl this year, but we ain't got no quarterback. Like, it's not the case. Best case scenario for him is a prolific quarterback gets hurt and some team thinks it's better to sign him than trade for a quote like Will Levis. Couldn't be me. Couldn't ever be me. I'm so happy that I actually think somehow this offseason the NFL learned, don't trust Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, it would be great if it would just be over. And you're right, because I mean, I'm glad he said this because it's obvious to everybody if he wanted to be a Steeler, he would have been already. They've clearly have reached out to him already. But he doesn't want to do that. And so, yeah, I guess it'll just hold out. If someone goes down, earlier mid-season, he'll hold out and see, who wants him. I'm the worst quarterback alive. Who want me? Let's
It seems like he just was like, okay, of the good teams, who has the weakest quarterback situation? And it's like, well, the Vikings have a guy who has never taken a snap in the NFL and is coming off of severe leg injury. And the Vikings were like, yeah, and we're good with that.
Still rather that. Still rather that. So, yeah. So, it could be that we'll start the season this year without him, and that would be nice. All right. So that's it for this week's episode. Our draft episode, our beefy episode. And
we're going live.
Yeah.
Are we going to do a live?
So we have big dreams. We've got big dreams for the draft episode next week. So the idea is we'll go live, for next week's draft for the first round, so you guys can watch it with us and we can watch it live. And so that's the idea. Hopefully that works out. I think we have a good plan, so it probably will work out for us. But that's the dream. So join us here next week as we go live for the first round of the draft, and take a look at how it works out.
We guarantee all 32 picks will be exactly what we just went over.
Yes, and if they're not,
no trades.
There will be no trades for the first time.
If not, we'll get into Photoshop and we'll make it correct.
Yeah,
absolutely.
We'll dub over the episode before we put it out.
Well, and you guys should be excited to know. I mean, Dallas is announcing the Seattle pick, so you guys will get to see him.
yeah.
He's the Make-A-Wish kid.
I'll just give me say what I want. All right. So until that live episode next week, take care. Thanks for watching. We appreciate it, and we will see you next week.